Good morning. We are back in the boat. I am ready to fish for some snook and jack. It's been about 2 weeks, probably, maybe more than that, since I really have tried to target snook and jack as well. And this morning, though, it's all going to be about one thing for me, I think, right here. I'm going to be throwing the old Spooltek. This old son of a gun right there. I probably get more requests to throw Spooltek than any other lure. People around here, you know, if you're from South Florida, you probably know what a Spooltek is, and most people are fanatics about them, just total psychopaths. I don't know why. They're interesting, definitely. You know how they work. They have a leader, a steel leader that winds up inside them. When a fish hits it, it pulls out the leader, so it gives you a ton of resistance and abrasion resistance, so you won't get frayed off or broken off, really. And you know, that's pretty cool. It's a very interesting idea. And, you know, I haven't had a ton of luck with them, but I haven't really thrown them that much either. So that's why today it's going to be all about throwing Spooltek and talking about the Spooltek, and I'll kind of do a review on it, essentially, you know, at the end of the day, what I think about it and how it catches fish and whatnot. But it should be interesting. It'll be fun to throw, and hopefully make you guys happy, because I always get people asking me to throw them, and that's what the guy looks like wound up right there. So that is what we're going to be throwing and working with today. This is a little gold, I think it's called a gold digger. I'm going to be throwing the gold digger Spooltek and see if we can catch some fish on these things, see if they live up to the hype. You know, and I know the real best way to fish them is you almost use them as a substitute for a flare hawk, where you fish them around bridge pilings and you fish them at night through inlet passes and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to use it for our own way and see how we do this morning. That is the plan. We're going to get at it. Oh, on. That was a snook. Nice one. There we go. Come on. Oh, I'm all over the place right now. Hey. Heck yeah. I'm not sure how he's hooked right now, but it gives me a great deal of confidence in this bait. Alright. Spooltek, you dog, that's a good snook. He's probably 27 to 28 inches right there. It's a little nice snook though, but right there on the Spooltek, I believe. And that thing ate in only about 5 inches of water. It literally hit the bank and I reeled it in, and he thumped it in about 5 inches. That is a beautiful, beautiful snook. I was all over the place, man. He was trying to get into a dock, and using this big 8-foot rod, I smacked my GoPro with the butt of my rod and turned it down facing the boat. That was fun though. That was really funny, but that's a good snook. That gives me a unbelievable amount of faith that this bait might actually be good for something. I know you guys are probably dying, because I know a lot of you catch a lot of big snook on these, but they're new to me, so I'm trying to get used to them. That's a beautiful fish. Go for the release in this guy. Off he goes. Spooltek helping me catch a snook off my very first dock I pulled up to. Now, you know the drill, we gotta wind this bad boy back up. So this will only take me about 20 minutes, so get back fishing here. Alright, so I've been casting for about, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes since I caught that last fish, and results speak for themselves kind of thing, where, you know, you saw that a snook ate it. It stayed buttoned in his mouth even though he leaped a couple of times, and it worked well. If it catches fish, it works well. The only problem I see with them really is that they work tremendously well slow rolling them. They just sit there and that little boot tail just kicks and kicks right across the bottom and stirs up mud, and that's what they're designed to do, you know. From what I've heard about them and what I've read about them, they were kind of originally designed for bridge fishermen and inlet fishermen and pier fishermen, people fishing from the bank because they're very heavy, and you sling them a mile and you just crawl them across the bottom back. And you use them at night because they create a lot of vibration, kicking mud off the bottom and just sitting there stirring across the bottom. And snook sit with their head glued on the bottom like that most of the time, and so they work really well for that. But I'm noticing when you speed this thing up, it kind of starts swimming, coming in sideways like this or like this, because it's not really designed to swim very fast. It's designed for a slow crawl. But I mean, clearly most people aren't using a Spooltek to target jack, but you know, if you were trying to whip one out of big jack and reeling in its track sideways like that, it might spook them. Who knows? That's just my first real observation or negative observation about them. But I mean, results are results, you know. It catches fish, and that's what's most important. But that's just what I'm seeing, is that when you speed up the retrieve a little bit, at first it'll kind of wobble side to side like this really heavily, and then if you get too fast, it just comes in sideways. But that's okay. If it catches fish, it catches fish. So we're gonna keep throwing and see if we can get a few more snook this morning. I see a little snook sitting up in the shallows right now. It might be a little too small to eat this. I might have also just thrown right on its head. Oh, he freaking smacked it, and I missed him. Would you look at that? Leader deployed and all. That is a bummer. It literally landed, and I twitched it once, and I felt him go thump and set the hook, and he was gone. It's okay. There we go. I just step off the cooler for that one. Gosh, get out, get the big fish. The big fish. I'm running to the back of the boat. Oh, got me inside the dock. What is going on? I am wrapped up something fierce here. I'm gonna loosen my drag. Oh, gosh, he took off like a steamroller. I don't know if he's still on or not. Yeah, I saw his head shake. You hear that braid wrapping around the piling. Oh, he might be off. No, he's still on, he's still on. He's off, I think. Yeah, he's off. He's off. Ooh, gosh. I don't even know what just happened. He's not even that big of a snook, but dude, he took off like a rocket, and I could not stop him. Whew. I literally, you guys saw that I was sprinting to the back of the boat to try to keep this fish from getting me to the pilings, but he still got there, dude. He's just powerful, powerful fish. And I can see a monster fray in my leader right now. That's a good snook. Let's see if we can land him here. There he goes, right there. Freaking gosh! He literally popped off right there next to the boat. Son of a gun. I thought the big thing with these is that they're not supposed to be able to pop the hook out. Oh, that really sucks to fight that much for that fish and have him come off boat side right there. You know what's funny is that typically, you guys know I never have a net in my boat, and just, you know, for the most part, it was always just about space. I would take up too much space. And then literally last night when I was thinking about coming out this morning, I was like, you know, I'm gonna start bringing the net out with me. I'm gonna remember to grab the net. And I forgot to grab the net this morning, and that's a bummer, but that's really okay. You know, that was probably a 34-inch snook right there that got off. I wish I would have been able to show him to the camera better, but he's a great fish, and this thing's working great, man. That's 2 nice fish this morning already, and it's only probably 8 o'clock right now. I'm gonna apologize for anything bad I ever said about the Spooltek, you know. No, I'm just kidding around, but it's doing very, very well this morning. But my leader, my main line, is frayed something fierce from that snook right there. I don't know if you can even see that really. You probably can't see it, but he's got some big giant tears all the way across this leader, so I'm gonna have to retie it. But it's going well. You know, I really wish I would have brought the net with me this morning, and it was actually a discussion I was having. I was like, you know, I'm gonna start bringing the net out more just because it'll be easier to land fish when I'm by myself. And you know, I do enjoy, you know, getting down and dirty and putting your hand in the snook's mouth. There's nothing cooler than that, I think, and feeling that fish, that power, like direct power of that fish. But something like that where, man, I wish I had a net with me, because I would have been able to show him off and give him a proper release. But I tried to lean down and grab him, and that thing sprinted off again. So he's good. But Spooltek's working well. Gonna retie my leader and start throwing again. Oh, that's a rock. But you have to admire my effort for stepping all the way down off the cooler to set the hook. Holy crap. There was just an absolutely monster-sized snook sitting underneath my boat looking at the Spooltek. Alright, I decided to close this video out at home because on the water the wind really fired up and you wouldn't have been able to hear me anyway. So, Spooltek, you know, it really surprised me today. Landed one decent snook, probably like 20, somewhere between 25 to 28 inches, my guess would be. And the one that got off had a good foot or half a foot on it. It was probably a 32 to 34 inch snook, the one that came off right by the boat side. And then you guys wouldn't be able to see it. It's such a disconnect sometimes between like what I see in my sunglasses and what the GoPro picks up, because I had probably a 40-inch snook fall all the way to the boat and just sit right underneath it, and he watched it fall all the way to the bottom and he never hit it. But you know, I can see him when I polarized glasses and I'm standing 3 feet up on a cooler, but the GoPro doesn't really pick that up. But that was pretty cool. I'm very, very surprised by the Spooltek. You know, like anything, it has its pros and cons. It is very heavy, so you can throw it a mile, but it digs in the mud, and I was bumping on every oyster and log and dock piling. I probably got snagged probably 6 or 7 times a day running it across the bottom, which is where you have to fish it, because when you're pulling it pretty fast, it kind of wobbles a little too much, doesn't look right, and it's meant to fish on the bottom. And I was getting snagged quite a bit, and the problem is because this cool deployable leader, when you set the hook, you set the freaking hook into something where every single time, you know, I couldn't just pull it off. I had to pull the boat over with the trolling motor and dig it down, because typically what I do, if I get snagged, I'll reel my line or my lure all the way up to the rod tip, and you can just push it backwards off of the snag. But with this, since it deploys, you can't really do that. And so I had a few tough call where I really had to work to dig this thing out of like a rock and some pilings and stuff like that. But that's just kind of the cost of doing business. Another thing about them that's kind of annoying, but it's really not a big deal, is that when you've done with them, you need to unwind your leader and clean them out and rinse this with fresh water, or it will rust and be useless, pretty much. But I think results speak for themselves, where caught one, kind of caught a second one that was a really nice fish and had a very big follower, and that was all just in a 3-hour period from 7 a.m. to 10. And you know, I never really had a lot of faith in these things, but I think these can be an excellent, excellent addition to the arsenal, and these are a good big fish catching lure. You know, a lot of people all the time they tell me to use Spoolteks, and for people who don't snook fish or don't live around in Florida, I think I can compare the Spooltek to a Huddleston. People are religious about them, where people, you know, oh, if you want to catch a big fish, you need to throw a Spooltek, or, you know, if you want to catch a big snook, you throw a Spooltek. If you want to catch big bass, you throw a Huddleston over on the West Coast. That's kind of how these things are treated around here, where people seem to either love them or hate them. But I was on the fence for a while, but after this morning, I have a newfound appreciation for this bad boy. You know, am I head over heels for it? No. I mean, it has its own set of problems like anything, but if it catches fish, that's what the main important thing is. And so I am overall impressed by it. It worked well for me. You know, today I had that fish come off right next to the boat, and I didn't have a net in the boat with me. And I'm going to start carrying one with me now, because in the past, for me, getting that fish right next to the boat and fighting that fish, that's enough for me, you know. A fish like that, I categorize fish in 3 sections when they come off, where it's a little one comes off next to the boat, you're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. A fish like I had today, it comes off, you're like, you know, I would have liked to land it, but it's not that big of a deal. And then you got fish that come off next to the boat that are giants, and you're like, I hate my life. Why did I let that thing come off next to the boat? So that fish today, I would categorize that as the second one, where it's like, I would have liked to land it, but it's not a big deal. And in the past, I've never had a net on my boat because it took up space and I didn't mind landing fish by hand. And when fish got off, I really didn't care. I was like, you know, I had a fight, I got him to eat. That's what the cool part for me was, is getting him to eat and stuff like that. But then now that I'm filming all the time and stuff, I realize I kind of need to have a net because I get to see the fish and jump around, but you guys want to see it out of the water and you want to be able to see it in the big camera. And so I'll work more towards doing that a little better. But today was fun. Definitely cool trying out a new lure. You'll probably be seeing me throw a lot of these bad boys from now on. But it was a good day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, see ya.